So, this is going to be somewhat of an addendum to my last rewriting Fallout 3 video, so check that out first if you haven't seen it already. But when we took a look at Tranquility Lane, I came up with an idea that I'm frankly shocked hasn't been discussed before. I had mostly nothing but praise for this quest, and it's still my favorite segment in Fallout 3, and probably any of the Bethesda Fallout games. But I was always left disappointed that Stanislaus Braun never had any impact outside of the simulation. I always felt that he had a lot of potential as an antagonist that went unused. I handled this in the rewrite by giving him control over the army of robo-brains and sentry bots in the Wasteland, with their secret purpose being the kidnapping of unsuspecting Wastelanders, who were to be collected and imprisoned as fresh fodder in Braun's nightmare realm. But I had an even wackier idea, one that I didn't really have the time to include in the last video. What if the Lone Wanderer never actually escaped the simulation? Seriously. Okay, I know it sounds like a dumbass M. Night Shyamalan tier twist at first, but if this was handled well, I think the implications could be groundbreaking. See, it never really sat right with me that Braun just lets you go after what amounts to a handshake agreement. You have no leverage over him, you can't defeat him unless you find the hidden terminal and activate the contingency program. If you follow the bad karma path and aid him in torturing the citizens of Tranquility Lane, there's nothing compelling him to just let you go, besides his word. And as a supreme narcissist, one who's come to enjoy what is essentially the power of a god over a nightmare realm of his own creation for 200 years, this decision doesn't really track with me. I know that this plot hole is there for the sake of pacing and ease of gameplay, and as I pointed out in the previous video, I think any kind of gimmicky boss fight or speech check that was required to defeat Braun and escape the simulation would have actually come off as tacky and inauthentic, cheapening the impact that he leaves as an antagonist. And if we really analyze the situation and the implications of this character's power, his unexpected benevolence might actually make us feel lucky. Like we passed under the eye of a crazed god, and only escaped his realm of madness by becoming his unquestioning acolyte. Although this isn't really the tone that the game's dialogue conveys. When we emerge, there's a short debrief with Liam Neeson, but after that, the events of Tranquility Lane are quickly swept under the rug, never brought up in the game again, and I think that's a huge missed opportunity. For example, I think that Braun letting the Lone Wanderer go could work a lot better if we later found out that there was some kind of ulterior motive behind it. Perhaps Braun sees the opportunity for further psychological torture in the outside of his nightmare realm, which the Lone Wanderer is blissfully unaware of until they exit the simulation. This plot thread could take any number of forms, from mere implication to even a major third act plot twist. Remember, in our rewrite, we retconned the lore of Stanislaus Braun so that instead of inventing the Gek, he invented Zax, the AI supercomputer which eventually became self-aware and invented the personality of John Henry Eden. We did this to establish the threat of our main antagonist by giving characters who have already met him a sense of dread that would hopefully convey the danger that he poses to the Wasteland. Questioning Braun, you would eventually learn that one of his main motivations for remaining in the simulation, besides enjoying the sadistic power that he holds over his victims, is that he's genuinely afraid of the possibilities of his own creation. Braun's power over his simulated world is nothing compared to the real power that the rogue AI could harness in the many dormant military bunkers scattered throughout the Wasteland. So what if the Lone Wanderer didn't escape Tranquility Lane unchanged? What if, as part of letting them go so easily, Braun altered them in some way, implanted something or programmed them somehow that would give him influence in the outside world? Remember, he can physically alter the memories and personalities of his victims through the Tranquility Loungers. So who's to say that he didn't have this power over the Lone Wanderer during the brief time that they were trapped in the simulation? And what if whatever ideas or violent compulsions that he implanted in them, what if the Lone Wanderer was to carry them with him, unknowingly, back into the Wasteland? Now, the obvious comparison here is Black Ops. This mental alteration parallels what Viktor Reznov did to Mason during his conditioning in Vorkuta. In both cases, the motivations of the agent and the programmer seem to align, at first. Mason wants to escape Vorkuta and hunt down those responsible for his imprisonment, while the Lone Wanderer will come to oppose John Henry Eden and the Enclave. Only for the twist to come later, when it's revealed that many of the characters' actions were not of their own volition, but were in fact being manipulated by the programmer to serve an ulterior motivation. Perhaps in Fallout 3, this could manifest after the player confronts John Henry Eden in Raven Rock, and they're offered the choice of uploading Braun into Eden's mainframe, giving him the same power over the armies that Eden was amassing to assault the capital wasteland. Or if we're going to offer the player the option of siding with Eden and the Enclave, as we should, perhaps they have a violent compulsion against them which they must overcome with an endurance or intelligence check. This could even extend to other characters throughout the wasteland, anyone that Braun perceives as a potential threat. Pinkerton, Madison Lee, maybe even your own father. Hell, maybe we offer the player the choice of consciously serving Braun's interests, working towards some sort of non-faction bad ending, if they want to roleplay as the exact kind of sadistic puppet that Braun made you become in Tranquility Lane. I mean, in the last episode, we created a secret questline that would offer the player the choice of joining the Institute, if they completed the replicated man by turning the android over to Dr. Zimmer. Would this really be so much different? Okay, yeah, I don't know. It might be a bit much. I mean, we are basically copying the hook of another game verbatim, and I think there might be another way of giving Braun a presence outside the simulation. One that's a lot more subliminal, a lot less cost-intensive when it comes to game development, and a whole lot safer on the gameplay side of things. What if, instead of having Braun return with any sort of master plan, what if we just imply it? Remember, last episode I pointed out that implication can do a lot of heavy lifting. When we allow the player/viewer/reader, whatever our medium is, only a minimal perspective on a potential threat, we can let their imaginations run wild with the implications of that threat. That's basically the root of any good psychological horror. And I think we have a golden opportunity here. What if, instead of having Braun return in any sort of overt way, we only imply his lingering influence over the player through cameo? Something that could be completely missed by a majority of players, but one with implications that could drive discussion for years to come. It would be as simple as scripting a few sequences where Braun, or more likely Betty, that's creepier, lingers on the edge of the player's vision, outside of the simulation. This would imply that Braun does still have some influence over the Lone Wanderer, or perhaps that they never escape the simulation at all, while leaving the possibilities of that fact completely ambiguous. From here, we can let fan theories and community discussion run wild, without ever even having to follow up on this implication. It works so powerfully as a theory, precisely because it's something that will never be explained. It's something so simple that could accomplish so much. And I'm honestly flabbergasted that BGS never took this opportunity when they were developing Fallout 3. They're clearly aware of the appeal of psychological/Lovecraftian horror, and their homage to these themes usually drives a lot of fan discussion for years afterwards. So I'm surprised that no one saw the opportunity here. But why do this in the first place, besides it just being cool? Why would a continual threat, or even the implication of a threat from Stanislaus Braun, make him so much better as a villain? Well, this is probably a topic for another video, but have you ever noticed that there aren't really any kind of major fan theories in the Fallout universe? Seriously, take a look at any sort of Fallout iceberg and compare it to the Elder Scrolls. The Fudgemuppet channel has several hour-long podcasts discussing numerous Elder Scrolls theories, ranging from the outright goofy to the incredibly plausible. The discourse over some of the implications made in-game, even unintentional ones, has driven community discussion for decades. and we don't really have anything comparable to that in Fallout. I mean, is Nobark Noonan the chosen one? Sure, why not? But why don't we have mysteries like the disappearance of the Dwemer to mull over? Or why don't we talk about the fates of past protagonists? Like the hero of Kvatch becoming the mad god Sheogorath, or the Nerevarine leading an ill-fated expedition to the mysterious continent of Akavir. That's basically what I've tried to accomplish today, because BGS never intended to imply anything about Tranquility Lane. That doesn't extend beyond its immediate presence in the story. It's a very one-and-done set piece, with a lot of missed potential. And these were just a couple wacky, zany ideas that could have really driven a lot of fan discussion if they were ever implemented. And if they had, I really think it could have elevated Stanislaus Braun as a villain, at least to an Elijah tier.
I know you can hear me. When you die, Courier, I'll be waiting. Your grave's going to look just like this vault. When you die, I'll be waiting here. The Sierra Madre. Waiting.
But yeah, that's about it for today. I'll have more to say about lackluster world building and the missed potential of the Fallout universe in another video. But next up on the docket is episode 7 of the Fallout Rewrite. So stay tuned for that. It should be coming your way in the next few weeks. Bye-bye now.